Today, I want to challenge you with a new mindset, a bold, liberating, life-changing perspective. It's time to act like you're dead. Now, I know that sounds strange at first, but stay with me. When you act like you're dead, you free yourself from everything that doesn't belong in your life. Too many of us are carrying burdens that were never meant for us to carry. We walk through life dragging around past hurts, regrets, mistakes, and disappointments that weigh us down. It's like trying to run a race with a backpack full of stones. Every step is harder, every moment feels heavier, and yet we keep moving, somehow thinking that the weight is just a part of life. But here's the truth, you weren't created to live that way. God didn't design you to carry the weight of the past. He didn't intend for you to be burdened by things that happened long ago. Every time you replay that argument, every time you think about that lost opportunity, or every time you rehearse that failure, you are allowing those things to keep you tethered to a past that can no longer influence your future. It's time to let go. Imagine for a moment that you are standing before a heavy door that you can't seem to open. You're pushing and pushing, but the door won't budge. You keep trying, but the weight of the door is too much for you to move. Now picture that this door represents the hurts, the grudges, and the mistakes that you've been holding on to. You're pushing against a door that's locked, but the key to unlock it is not in your hands, it's in God's. When you let go of the weight that's keeping you stuck, you're allowing God to unlock that door and show you a whole new world of possibilities. Releasing the past doesn't mean forgetting it or denying it. It doesn't mean that you're excusing the wrongs done to you or pretending that the pain wasn't real. It means that you are choosing to no longer let those things have a hold on you. It means you are making a conscious decision to walk forward in freedom. God can heal your heart, but only if you're willing to let go of what's holding it hostage. Letting go doesn't just mean releasing bitterness or anger. It also means releasing self-doubt. It means no longer holding on to the fear of failure, no longer letting the voice of insecurity tell you that you're not good enough or that you'll never succeed. When you let go of those limiting beliefs, you make room for the truth that God has spoken over your life. He says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. He says you are capable, worthy, and empowered. When you release the weight of self-doubt, you open yourself up to live according to God's plan, not according to the false narratives that have been holding you back. I think of the freedom that comes from living without the burden of guilt or shame. Think about the peace you would have if you weren't constantly replaying past mistakes or worrying about things that went wrong. You would find a new energy, a new focus, and a new sense of purpose. When you let go, you make space for the new things God wants to bring into your life. You have a purpose that is waiting for you. God has a plan for your life that is full of hope, promise, and possibility. But you can't fully step into that purpose while you're holding on to the past. You can't fully experience the blessings He has in store for you if you're weighed down by things that were never meant to define you. It's time to lay it down. It's time to let go of what's been holding you back. Trust that as you release the weight, God will give you the strength to keep moving forward into everything He has for you. We all want to be liked, appreciated, and accepted. There's a natural desire in each of us to fit in, to be seen, and to have others affirm us. But the danger comes when we begin to live our lives seeking approval from everyone around us. It's as if we're constantly waiting for others to tell us we're doing okay or that we're enough. But the truth is, you were never meant to live for the approval of others. You were meant to live for a higher purpose. And that purpose is grounded in God's love for you, not in the opinions of the world. When you live for others' approval, you're placing your self-worth in the hands of people who may or may not understand you. You're allowing your happiness to be determined by external factors that are beyond your control. One day someone will affirm you, and the next they might criticize you. If you build your life on the approval of others, you will constantly be tossed back and forth, trying to keep up with everyone's ever-changing expectations. But when your worth is anchored in who God says you are, nothing and no one can shake you. I think about this: when you live for others' approval, you're allowing them to dictate the terms of your life. You're seeking validation from people who are imperfect, just like you. It's a never-ending cycle that leaves you exhausted and frustrated because no matter how hard you try, You can never fully please everyone. Someone will always have an opinion, a suggestion, or a critique. The truth is, when you seek approval from others, you're giving them the power to define you. But God has already defined you, and He says you are His masterpiece, created with purpose and value. Living for approval can also lead to a life of inauthenticity. You might start changing your behavior, your beliefs, or your dreams in order to gain the acceptance of others. You start putting on masks, trying to be someone you're not, just to fit into someone else's mold. But the more you try to please others, the further you drift from your true self. You'll find yourself saying things you don't believe, doing things you don't enjoy, and becoming someone you don't recognize. The person you were meant to be gets lost in the pursuit of approval. The key to freedom is recognizing that you are already approved. Before anyone spoke a word of praise or criticism, before you earned a single compliment or endured a harsh judgment, God approved of you. He created you with a plan and a purpose that is unique to you. His love for you is unconditional, and that love doesn't change based on your performance or the approval of others. When you understand that truth, you no longer need to chase after the empty approval of people. You are free to be yourself, to walk in the confidence that comes from knowing that you are loved and valued by the Creator of the universe. Living for God's approval doesn't mean you should disregard others or stop caring about relationships. It doesn't mean you should live in isolation or ignore healthy feedback. But it does mean you are no longer ruled by the need to gain approval at the expense of your true self. When you stop living for others' approval, you are free to step into the life God has called you to. You can live boldly, pursue your dreams, and make decisions based on what aligns with your values, not on what others expect of you. Your past doesn't define you unless you allow it to. So many people live their lives anchored to past mistakes, regrets, and failures, carrying them like weights around their necks. They let the pain of yesterday influence the possibilities of today. But here's the truth: your past is behind you, and if you choose, it can no longer control your future. God has something greater for you, but in order to step into the fullness of His purpose for your life, you must be willing to die to your past. When you hold on to the past, you're allowing it to shape your present and dictate your future. Every time you look back at what went wrong, every time you replay old wounds in your mind, you're letting those memories rob you of the peace and freedom that God desires for you. God doesn't want you to live in regret, shame, or guilt. He wants you to live in the freedom of His grace, moving forward with confidence into the bright future He has prepared for you. The key to living for your purpose is to let go of the things that no longer serve you, things like unforgiveness, shame, and self-doubt. When you keep revisiting the past, you're holding on to things that can't change, things that don't add value to your life. It's like trying to drive a car while looking in the rearview mirror. You can't see where you're going, and you're more likely to crash. The rearview mirror was never meant to be your focus. God has placed a windshield in front of you, and that's where your focus should be, on the journey ahead, the road that leads to your purpose. Living for your purpose requires a forward-thinking mindset. The people you were, the mistakes you made, the doors that closed, those are part of the past. But they are not your future. Your future is filled with potential, promise, and hope. When you choose to die to your past, you choose to live for something far greater. You choose to live for the purpose that God has uniquely designed for you. The past might try to come back and haunt you, whispering lies that you're not good enough or that you'll never change. But when you understand that your identity is not tied to your past, you can confidently reject those lies. Your identity is rooted in who God says you are. He sees you as victorious, redeemed, and chosen for a purpose. You don't have to carry the baggage of your past into your future. God has forgiven you, and He's made you new. You are free to walk boldly into the future He has planned for you. Living for your purpose also means stepping into the unique calling that God has placed on your life. Each of us has a destiny to fulfill, and it's waiting for us to rise up and step into it. But the first step is letting go of the past, both the good and the bad. Sometimes we get so attached to what we've done, the accomplishments we've had, or the recognition we've received, that we stop moving forward. But God is calling you to something new, something greater. If you're still holding on to what you've already achieved, you might miss what God has next for you. When you die to your past, you embrace the fullness of your purpose. You free yourself from what has been holding you back and open yourself to the new things God wants to do in and through you. You no longer live for the approval of others, the validation of your past, or the limitations of your own understanding. You live for God's purpose, His calling, and the amazing things He has ahead. It's time to step into that purpose and live with the confidence that your past will not dictate your future. The best is yet to come. The idea of freedom is something we all long for, but so often we find ourselves bound by things we can't see or touch, fears, insecurities, doubts, or even the expectations of others. We talk about wanting freedom, but too many people are living in the prison of their own minds, restricted by the chains of their past and their own limiting beliefs. However, true freedom comes when we fully embrace the new life that God has given us, a life free from the weight of yesterday, free from fear and free to step boldly into the future He has designed for us. When you embrace the freedom of a new life, you begin to understand that you are no longer a prisoner to your past mistakes, failures, or regrets. Those things no longer have the power to control you or determine your worth. The old version of yourself, the one that carried the shame, guilt, and fears, is gone. God has given you a new identity, and that identity is grounded in His love for you. You are free to let go of the things that have been holding you back. This freedom is not just about being free from external burdens. It's about being free from the limitations we place on ourselves. So often we limit ourselves because we think we're not good enough or capable enough to live the life we dream about. We hold ourselves back because of self-doubt and the fear of failure. But embracing the freedom of a new life means rejecting those lies and stepping into the truth of who you are. You are more than enough, and you are fully equipped to fulfill the purpose God has placed on your life. The freedom of a new life also means that you're no longer living for the approval of others. When you live for the approval of others, you're never truly free, because your happiness and peace are contingent on other people's opinions. But when you embrace the freedom of a new life, you realize that your identity and worth are not determined by what others think of you. You are loved by God, and His opinion is the one that matters most. This truth sets you free to live authentically, to walk boldly in your calling, and to make decisions that align with the purpose God has given you, not based on the expectations or judgments of others. True freedom is also about living without fear. Fear has a way of holding us back from stepping into the life we're meant to live. Fear tells us we're not good enough, that we'll fail, or that the worst will happen. But when we embrace the freedom of a new life, we choose to walk by faith instead of fear. We trust that God has a plan for us, and that plan is filled with hope and a future. When we choose faith over fear, we break free from the prison of anxiety and uncertainty. Embracing the freedom of a new life also means stepping into the joy, peace, and fulfillment that God has for us. It's easy to get bogged down in the busyness and challenges of life, but God has called us to experience life abundantly. His freedom brings joy that doesn't depend on circumstances, peace that surpasses understanding, and a sense of purpose that fills us with fulfillment. When we embrace the new life He offers, we open ourselves up to this abundance. The life God has for you is one of freedom, joy, and purpose. It's a life where you can release the things that have been holding you back, live authentically, and walk confidently into the future He has planned. Embrace the freedom of that new life. Let go of the chains that have kept you captive. Step into the fullness of who you were created to be and live boldly in the freedom that God has already provided for you. Being fearless in your faith means stepping out in boldness no matter what the circumstances look like. It's trusting in God's promises so deeply that you refuse to be intimidated by fear or doubt. The world may try to shake your confidence, but when your faith is rooted in the unwavering love and power of God, you become unshakable. Fear will still try to come, doubt will still try to creep in, but you can choose to stand strong, knowing that with God by your side, nothing is impossible. Fear often holds us back from living fully. It whispers in our ear, telling us that we're not enough, that we're not capable, or that we'll fail. It tries to keep us in the comfort zone where we're safe but stagnant. But fear has no place in a life built on faith. When you are fearless in your faith, you stop letting fear control your decisions and your dreams. Instead, you take bold steps, trusting that God is leading you, guiding you, and equipping you for everything that lies ahead. Faith isn't the absence of fear, but the courage to keep moving forward despite it. Every time fear tries to rise up, faith speaks louder, reminding you that God is greater than anything you may face. It's like walking into the unknown with the assurance that God is already there, preparing the way for you. When you believe that God is with you, you understand that no challenge, no obstacle, and no setback can stop you from fulfilling your purpose. You walk in the confidence that He has already equipped you for victory, even when things look uncertain. Being fearless in your faith also means trusting God in the moments when things don't go as planned. Sometimes we step out in faith and we don't see the immediate results we expect. We may face challenges, disappointments, or setbacks along the way. But when you are fearless in your faith, you know that those challenges are not the end. They are simply part of the process, shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for greater things. Trusting God means knowing that His plan is bigger than what you can see right now. His timing is perfect, and His ways are higher than your own. Fearless faith also means trusting God, even when it's uncomfortable. It's easy to have faith when things are going well, but true faith is tested in the difficult moments. It's in the trials, the uncertainties, and the storms that you have the opportunity to demonstrate just how deep your trust in God runs. In those moments, you can choose to lean on your own understanding and let fear take hold, or you can choose to rely on God's strength and know that He will see you through. Being fearless in your faith doesn't mean that the storms won't come, but it means that no matter how fierce they may be, your trust in God will not waver. When you are fearless in your faith, you become a powerful force for God's kingdom. Your courage and confidence inspire others to step out in faith too. You lead by example, showing others that with God, they too can overcome their fears and walk in the freedom He offers. Your faith becomes a testimony to those around you, demonstrating that no matter the obstacles, faith in God is always the way forward. You live a life that reflects His power and His love. And through your boldness, others see the incredible things God can do in and through those who trust Him completely. There are moments in life when we feel as though we've reached the end of ourselves, when everything seems broken and hope feels distant. Whether it's the weight of a painful loss, a struggle with personal failure, or the exhaustion from trying to carry burdens alone, there are times when we feel spiritually, emotionally, or mentally dead inside. But here's the amazing truth: God's power has the ability to resurrect us, to bring us back to life, to restore what has been lost, and to breathe new hope into the darkest of situations. God's resurrection power is not just something that happened in the past, it is alive and active today. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead is available to you right now. This power is not limited by time or circumstance, it transcends everything. When you feel weak, when you feel hopeless, or when you feel as though you've reached the point of no return, that is when God's power can do the most incredible work in your life. No situation is beyond His reach, no heart is too broken, and no dream is too far gone. To let God's power resurrect you means allowing Him to breathe life into the areas of your heart that have been broken. It means surrendering those parts of yourself that have been buried under disappointment, shame, or fear, and trusting God to bring them back to life. It is easy to feel as though the things we've lost are gone forever, but with God, nothing is ever truly lost. He has the power to restore dreams, relationships, and hopes that we thought were beyond repair. But resurrection doesn't always look like we expect it to. Sometimes God's resurrection power shows up in ways that don't seem immediately obvious. It's not always a dramatic moment of change, but rather a quiet, steady work in our hearts that brings healing and transformation over time. We may not always understand the way God works, but we can trust that His power is at work even in the midst of our struggles. Allowing God's power to resurrect you also means releasing the things that have held you down. It means letting go of old wounds, past regrets, and unforgiveness that have kept you in a state of spiritual death. God can't bring new life to a heart that is still holding on to the old. It's about clearing out the spiritual clutter so God can fill you with His healing, His strength, and His peace. Let go of the things that have been holding you in bondage and allow God's resurrection power to lift you up, to renew your spirit, and to restore your soul. When you let God's power resurrect you, you are no longer defined by your past, your failures, or your limitations. You are made new in Him. God doesn't just fix you or improve you, He transforms you completely. The old has passed away and the new has come. You become a living testimony of God's greatness and His ability to turn impossible situations into powerful victories. God's resurrection power brings freedom. It frees you from the chains of guilt, fear, and insecurity. It frees you from the lie that you are stuck, that you are beyond help, or that you cannot change. In Christ, you are always being made new, and every day is an opportunity for His power to work in your life. Embrace God's power to resurrect you. Allow His strength to revive what is broken and bring new life to every area of your heart. When you trust in His power, nothing can keep you down. You are always being lifted up, always moving toward the abundant life He has prepared for you. In life, we all face moments of difficulty, pain, and doubt, but the powerful truth is that with God, nothing is impossible. When we choose to let go of what weighs us down, stop living for others' approval, die to our past, and embrace the freedom of a new life, we open ourselves to the fullness of God's purpose for us. We are called to be fearless in our faith, trusting in God's promises, even in the face of fear and uncertainty. And no matter how broken or hopeless we may feel, God's power is always ready to resurrect us, bringing new life, healing, and restoration to every part of our being. By embracing His power and walking in the truth of who we are in Christ, we step into a future filled with purpose, freedom, and limitless possibilities. With God's strength, we can overcome anything, live boldly, and fulfill the incredible plans He has for us. The best is yet to come.